Yeah, well, we're here today because our city is full of climate criminals. There's BHP, Rio Tinto, all manner of disgusting companies that just go about their business in our city pretty unremarked upon. They have these massive giant offices with little signs trying to hide who they are basically. And a few weeks ago an IPCC report came out that said that we only have basically 3 years to turn things around, and the trajectory we're on here in Australia is definitely not heading in that direction. In fact, it's heading in the opposite. Even the Labor Party is committed to opening 114 new coal and gas projects in the next couple of years. So we basically want to go around the city, we want to name and shame these companies, we want to basically say Melburnians don't want you here, they don't want fossil fuel money in our city, we want real action on climate change, and we're not going to go away until we get it.
And nothing is done. This is what we can expect so long as the rich and powerful keep getting their way. There's money for war and fossil fuels, while the rest of us are abandoned to suffer the consequences. But we're here because we're not going to let them get away with it. So we're going to march. We're going to march to Collins Street, and we're going to march down Collins Street because Collins Street in Melbourne is home of some of the world's worst climate criminals. First, we'll visit the climate criminals at BHP. We've made over $18 billion on climate destruction just last year. He's going to tell us a bit about the crimes of BHP.
Well, how long have we got? Welcome to Collins Street, the scene of the crime, the place where the most cash is counted with the cleanest of hands. And it's been this way for about a century and a half, actually. We're not making it all the way up to the Melbourne Club this afternoon. The Melbourne Club, of course, is the oldest institution in the City of Melbourne. It predates the City of Melbourne, it predates the Parliament, it predates the Chamber of Commerce, it predates the whole lot, and it was formed by the squattocracy, the first ruling class of this particular country. If you want lead dug for a brutal world war, BHP is your company. If you're a Japanese imperialist wanting to invade China and needing some iron for it, BHP is your company. If you want to develop a uranium mine, the Roxby Downs uranium mine on Cockatha land against the wishes of the Aboriginal people, and of course every gram of that uranium ends up as nuclear weapons or nuclear waste, well, in that case Western Mining Corporation, now owned by BHP, is the sort of company that you want. This is the sort of deal that BHP has been involved in since their inception. And when it comes to climate, you'd be familiar with that statistic that just 100 corporate entities have contributed 70% of the carbon emitted into the atmosphere over the last century or so. There's only 2 Australian corporations on that list, and BHP is the biggest one of them. Even since 1988, BHP has contributed nearly 1% of every tonne of carbon, like the entirety of the CO2 emissions on planet Earth. BHP has profited from nearly 1% of that. They are a corporate giant, and they are a giant corporate and climate criminal, which brings us here today. Now, a spin-off company that will be merged into Woodside Petroleum. Now, you might notice this does not involve shutting down a single coal mine. This does not involve capping a single gas well or a single petroleum well. All of those assets will keep working. All of those assets will keep making a humongous profit. And now they want a standing ovation for handing over their carbon assets to Woodside while their hands are clean and green and continue to count the cash. We're not fooled by that. We don't think many ordinary people will be fooled by that. And BHP has two problems. Number one problem is that every cent of the wealth that it has counted in this street over more than a century depends on the labour of workers. And from time to time, those workers have called a halt to the bloody business that BHP is engaged in. One of those incidents was in World War I, when BHP was making a roaring profit. As a lead miner, World War I was great for its profits. As a working class, took part in the bloody slaughter in Western Europe and around the world. And the workers at BHP's mines, the other mines in Broken Hill, called a halt to it and said, "No, we're not doing it anymore. We demand shorter hours. We demand life instead of death. We demand water for the town. We demand, working in an atmosphere without dust." They won a 44-hour week. They survived a 16-month lockout to hold on to that condition, and they showed that workers actually have a power that even BHP has to reckon with. And before World War II, when BHP was profiting to the last possible minute by shipping pig iron out of Port Kembla, it was the wharfies there that said, "No, we refuse to ship BHP iron. We refuse to make money for BHP because that pig iron is being rained down as bombs and weapons on the people of China in an imperialist war." That's the sort of power that we need to tap again. So that's one problem that BHP has. The other problem that BHP has is the rest of us. And in late 2019, as the corporate executives high up on the executive floors of BHP were preparing to step out in their $1,000 suits to do $1 million deals at the IMARC conference, just a short tram ride away, hundreds of people were joining arms, raising our voices and saying, "No, you are not going to just saunter into these streets to keep doing deals for the climate." We disrupted that conference. We stopped hundreds of people from getting in. We're proud of what we did, and we'll do it again anytime soon. So congratulations on continuing that tradition of resistance here in Collins Street, the scene of the crime, and let's keep it up. Thank you.